Fujin Bo Fujin. That didn't make any sense, but whatever. Fujin is a very complicated character. He's, I say complicated. Don't let that scare you. He's complicated for as far as Mortal Kombat 11 kind of goes. And he doesn't have pretzel inputs, he doesn't have half-circle inputs, but some of his combo options require a little more fidelity than some of the other characters do. But once you kind of get that fidelity figured out, Fujin becomes easier. It's like riding a bicycle for the first time. It's gonna be awkward for about 10 minutes while you try to figure out what the hell to do, but once you get it going, it's just natural. So, as before, we're going to talk about any unique normals that he has. First, including unique crushing blows. So we're not going to talk about the... so we're not actually going to talk about the... oh wait, he has throw crushing blows on both sides, so that will count. But we won't talk about the uppercut crushing blows. That's what I mean. So, Bending Wind. It has pretty good range, and like other wind attacks that he has, doesn't have a hitbox. At this range, it normally misses, but it has a close version. There aren't very many normals that have close versions, but they pull the opponent in regardless. Another thing I should probably mention that I didn't actually end up tagging. I forgot to talk about wake-up attacks too. Shit! Okay, I'll talk about wake-up attacks at the end of the video. But, righto. Anyway, where the hell is it? Crosswind! This thing. This is unique because it can kind of pull the opponent in depending on where they are. It pushes them if they're really close, and it pulls them in if they're too far to slam them. This is not special cancelable, but you get sandwiched between winds. It's kind of nuts. Both of his throws have crushing blows, but because he's one of those characters that has two crushing blow throws, when one is used, the other cannot be used at the same time. This was actually patched out relatively recently. It used to be that if you got this, you could actually crushing blow twice with the different throws, but that was deemed to be unfair because characters like Nightwolf and, Fujin would have had this, would have had relatively easy situations where, theoretically, they could kill you with just throws. Throw, fail the throw attack, that's 14%. Throw, miss the throw attack, or don't throw attack, eat a total of 45%. Do this loop again, you get, 90%. And then you just have to maybe throw in a fifth throw, and bam, you killed the opponent. So that was seen as cheap, so that's gone now, thankfully, but gotta bear that in mind. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so these are all of Fujin's strengths here, and they're all universal. Gusting Cyclone is off of a... I should probably turn the frame data on for me as well. Off of a 7-frame high. Very good punish tool, and if it punishes, you get a crushing blow! Where they go around the world. But unlike Rain, unlike Shang Tsung in the Rain variation, he can't meet or burn this for anything. This is just raw damage. But almost the same amount of damage as the throw, so I'm not one to complain. Aerokinesis is a dial string. After you press 1, 2, you have to dial in 3, 4, or 4, 3, 4 to get the kicks out. This is a good ender, especially for on the ground, and a good way to close out the round, especially if they have chip, because in this game your defensive bars can save you with chip. So let's say you get them right to chip damage with this, then you close out with this. Because they only get 2 hits of chip before last breath, this will kill them. So a really good way to chip out the opponent is Aerokinesis. But be careful. But I want you to be careful with this, because if the opponent does decide to block, he's left at -5, which is still technically safe, but he is not plus. And he's not plus, he's not neutral. So he could theoretically be challenged here. We'll have to talk about block data as well at a later time. Rolling Winds comes off of this really good mid. It isn't quite start of the match, but it's very close. But you have to dial in the rest of the strength in the form of Howling Winds. But you can actually cancel into a special move afterwards to keep yourself relatively safe. So again, if Shang Tsung were to block, for instance, like he's at range, but I'm minus 17. And remember, Shang Tsung has a 17 frame mid. So theoretically, he could reach me with it, or Soul Steal, or his slide, and punish me for it. So, if I go into Crossbow, okay, sure, I'm minus 14, but not only am I safer, but I can get a little bit of pushback on the opponent as well. Especially for just one bar. Or maybe I force them back. Or, in variation 1, I guess I can't do it that way. Oh, there we go. I can give myself more distance by using the tornado. There are options to keep this safe, but don't do it willy-nilly, especially in the corner, otherwise you're going to get your ass punished. I think I forgot to talk about that with Shang Tsung as well, but anyhow, Tornado Twist. It's a high-low, so you can catch an opponent trying to punish your highs with this, but be careful, because you, again, have to dial in the second part. But it is special cancelable. So, special cancel it. And if the opponent blocks this, I don't believe they're actually... Yeah, you're minus 17, but if you don't commit, you're minus 11. Still unsafe. If they just block this, it's minus 5. But like I said, remember, you can make yourself relatively safe depending on the special move you decide to use. I like to use Tornado just to kind of back up and make the opponent not able to punish, because if they try to punish, they eat a tornado in the face. Yum. But then, you have a 28 frame mid, or high, sorry. Really, that's a high? Shitty. But it does have decent damage that and knocks the opponent back. And if they block this, wanting you to commit to this strength, to leave yourself minus 17 in a close enough range for even Shao Kahn to punish you, because Shao Kahn is infamous for slow attack, he can make himself relatively safe with this to make him minus 4, which makes him safe. And if you ever want to learn about frame data, let me know, but just trust me when I say things are safe or when things are unsafe, for now. Whirlwind is just an ender. Nothing to write home about, and it's the same ender as Tailwind, but Tailwind does a little more damage because of the sandwich. Sandwich! But Howling Winds, but Whirlwind will catch from further back usually. So it's one of those things that you just kind of have to keep in mind. And then there's Whisked Away, an advancing low that combos into just about anything. Whoops. That does crushing blow, but it does a crushing blow off of a counter or a punish. And as far as I know, none of these other things have crushing blows. No, I don't think they do. Just double check. Yeah, no. What was I saying? What was I saying? Oh yeah, Whisked Away. Because of the range that Fujin covers with this is a really good way to just kind of slip under projectiles. And then, if the opponent is expecting it right away, you can delay it, and then force them to eat 24% damage. Damage! Blown Away comes off of Boraito, which is my favorite name for a normal in this game, but restands the opponent. You're going to see this a lot in Fujin combos because this is the way to end things to catch opponents in with whirlwind kicks or whatever you want. Because it also stops breakaway because it's a restand. You can't break away from restands, and you can't break away on the ground. And you can even end it with a tricky double hitting string. Crushing Zephyr is a mid overhead. And if you land the overhead twice in a row, meaning you have to whiff the really good mid, get yourself a combo. A special cancelable combo anyway, not like a I can get an uppercut after this. But you still get a combo all the same. Now let's talk special moves. Let's see. Oh, I could do it in the air too in this variation. Okay. I can do it in... Oh, there's stuff here. Alright. Here's most of the special moves you have to remember here. Crossbow Blast is a basic projectile. Not the fastest one in the game, but still a projectile regardless. By pressing up or down during this input, you can spend a bar to make the crossbow bolts bounce around the screen to catch opponents at different ranges. At full screen, the up one won't catch, but the down one will. And you can even be tricksy and amplify it however you want to keep the opponent on their toes, or just amplify it straight to get some damage. But remember, since it costs meter to aim it downwards or upwards, you gotta be diligent with managing your meter with Crossbow Blast. Tornado is kind of like Kung Lao Spin, and it will combo depending on the situation, but let's see. But you have to be tricky with it. This is where things get tricky, because this is a meterless extender. But you won't get anything off of it if it connects right away. You don't have enough time. But if you move forward with it, you can get certain things off of it. Like say a forward 4. See where this could be extremely handy? So let's say that you do this. Let's say you do this string, and then you go into Tornado. It's not going to hit on its own, but if you move in, okay, it's a little bit trickier than I gave it credit for. Come on. Okay, how about this? Come on. How about something a little bit different? Oh yeah, this one. You'll see this a lot. Or what was it? I think it was this. Yeah. I'm trying to remember here because it's been a little while since I've done anything with Fujin. But trust me, you can combo into this meterlessly. But fortunately, Downburst makes things easier by allowing you to amplify. Throwing the opponent higher, and allowing you combo situations. So for instance, I can actually land this. You can get a combo that way. And you can even amplify it twice. But that burns all of your meter, so I wouldn't recommend meter burning it twice unless you really aren't sure about what the timing is. Because it's better to just save it for combos. And you can even do it in the air in this variation. So do a jump and kick, do this, get whatever you want out of the deal. And speaking of wind kicks, this is your general combo ender. especially when you amplify it. But what's really cool is that in downburst, you can do it in the air. So you can trade a jump kick and turn it into damage, making it really useful. And I believe that is it for the most part. There is Divine Wind, which we'll talk about right now. This is a really funky short hop thing, where it acts like a short hop, you get your short hop attacks off of it. However, if you hold it for a moment, then do this, you get a combo off of it. This is really good for if you expect a low, then punish the low. I would also like to admit that I am not a Fujin expert by any means, and I'm not really an expert at fighting games. But what I hope to do with this series is hopefully teach you guys something, at least enough to get you interested in a character and take that character to the lab. Time to talk about Variation 2, Cloud Walker. Alright, so there are 3 abilities here, but one of them is so kooky, I'm saving it for kind of a part 2 situation. Warped Needle replaces the Wind Kick, but applies a similar function as a combo ender to knock the opponent back and do damage. And it has really good range, plus it keeps them grounded, meaning they're not breaking away from this. However, you're minus 16, which even at your optimal range, which is this, you could be punished by certain attacks. You can make yourself basically neutral on block if you amplify, but the amplify is 31 frames, giving you a flawless blockable gap. Now, I'm not expecting you guys to be masters of flawless block. Hell, I can't get flawless block at all, because I suck with parries. But when your opponent knows how to flawless block, be extremely careful about just throwing out the amplified version of this willy-nilly. Wind Barrier allows Fujin to parry jumping attacks. So, let's say I'm Shang Tsung, and I'm gonna parry, and I'm gonna try and jumping kick you as Fujin. It's a little bit tricky. I can parry it, completely nullify it. I wonder what the amplify does. What does the amplify do for this? Oh, it's an amplify for each of the different attacks. Okay. You get 2 different options out of the Wind Barrier shenanigans. So, when you parry an attack, I can turn it into a sword, which I can amplify for more damage, or I can turn it into a dive kick. And the down version can parry anti-airs too. So if I get Shang Tsung to try and uppercut me, see, I completely nullified his uppercut. How ridiculous is that? But it gets even better. See, you can tell it works because if it missed, you don't get that. You don't get that. And you'll know for sure if you hear the wind impact. There it is. Which I believe I can also amplify. I can get this. Come on. Why do I not amplify it? There it is. Okay, so that does Crushing Blow after you parry 2 attacks in a row. So if you get really good with your parries, and you parry stuff, and you get the dive kick, bam, Crushing Blow. But we're not done yet. This is the main attraction for anybody who is usually interested in this variation. Skywalker. AKA, I'm totally a Star Wars character. AKA, look at me running on air. AKA, Angs! Not in the game. I want Aang or Korra to be in fucking Injustice 3, though. Anyway, Skywalker lets Fujin just run. And he can run ridiculously far, by the way. From full screen, I can run to the other side of the screen, meaning that I completely avoid projectiles. I can cancel it to just come down after I run past a particularly slow projectile and punish you for it. That kind of thing. But you get cool stuff out of this. If you run for at least 2 steps, which usually means you gotta basically run full screen, you get a combo. And what a combo it is. But because it's off of the same attack, if you do the parry version of this, you will lose it. So be very careful with that. And you'll also get Flying Sword. Only really good for catching characters in the air. Good thing you can amplify this to force your opponent to be in the air, huh? Look at that corner carry. We went from mid-screen to full screen in one move. I gotta remember my sword timings, but with the right timing, you can turn this into a ridiculous combo. Look at that! Look at that! And let's go even more ridiculous. Let's go even more ridiculous. Let's say I'm trapped. Let's say I'm trapped. Lol, I'm not trapped anymore. Or, let's say... Look at this. I've almost carried him all the way to the corner, and I was in the corner. This move is ridiculous. And if you're just starting out with Fujin, this alone is enough for me to recommend it. Especially if you can force your opponent back in the corner, it is just so damn tasty. Just remember, Fujin is a little bit trickier than he looks, so spend some lab time and you'll be just fine. Now let's talk about Cyclone. Tailwind and Whirlwind gain meter burns in Cyclone, which just looks so damn sick when he does it. Urgh! Stop where you are! And this has a crushing blow. If these attacks punish a backdash, so if your opponent tries to backdash and you catch them with this, get some good damage out of it. Tasty damage. Now for something a little more interesting. You lose the crossbow bolts for wind push. But wait, there's no damage being done. There's no damage numbers on the screen. That's because this move doesn't do damage. Now you might think, what the fuck are you guys on about? Why would you give Fujin a move that does no damage? Need I remind you that Sub-Zero's Ice Ball does no damage but becomes a combo extender? In this case, it's not the combos that you want. It's the distance. You can force the opponent back full screen. And if you complete a sequence of this attack, the sequence isn't secret, by the way. All you have to do is complete a certain sequence. Doesn't matter what it is. It can be close, mid, far, and then amplify. Oh wait, close, mid, and then amplify the far one. Or it can be something like far, close, and then mid. As long as the third wind push you do, that is in a sequence that has all of the wind pushes in it, you will get a crushing blow. And yes, that does mean that you have to use this move 3 times in a row. But the fortunate thing is that the Amplify version does do damage, and it knocks back quite far. Now you might be thinking, well, what if the opponent blocks? Well, You just amplify it to get chip damage and make it safe. This is definitely one of those moves that you have to plan around a little bit, but some characters you want to push back, others you don't. But once you kind of do this and kind of get used to it, this is a good way to kind of keep your opponent in check and interrupt them. Basically a way to say, no, stop it, no. But it doesn't track, you have to place the range. Which leads me to Err Slim. This attack will never hit an opponent on the ground. However, it's a good ender for most combos. But, let's say you amplify it. Get out of here. Yes, the opponent is up there for a really long time. You have 2 full seconds to try and punish them. But that's a bit of a lie. The trick is to wait until the opponent starts screaming, then move in. Because you'll hear them begin to fall down. And if you can get your timing down on this, which I've never been able to do, but get your timing down on this, get yourself a combo going. And in fact, the fun thing is, I've seen this happen. If you time it just right, you can actually get the 4-3-1 crushing blow because the kick misses. Meaning you get even more damage. But Err Slim is a super tricky thing to land. It makes Cyclone one of the hardest moves one of the hardest variations to learn in the game. But you get this move locked down and oh mama, you are in for a good time. Also, in case you're wondering what Fujin's what the heck Fujin's armor breaking attack is, it's wind kicks. So if the opponent were to hang on. Why do I have get out mode on? I need breakaway on plate. The opponent breaks away, he gets an ender. Not the greatest ender in the world, but an ender regardless, and because it's in 2 of his 3 variations, the versatility generally makes up for it. Not to mention, you do get a little extra damage to boot. Now, very quickly before I wrap up this video, I'm going to talk Fujin's Fatal Blow and these 2's Wake Up attacks, which also serve as flawless block reversals, so remember that. It hits twice, the second hit has decent range, this is a good ender. And it pushes the opponent back for decent range too. Now, as I had mentioned before, Fujin, I was going to cover their wake-up attacks. Because it's important to cover wake-up attacks, because you need to see what they do. Now, all characters have 2 versions of a wake-up attack, and these wake-up attacks also double as flawless block attacks. So, if I were to flawless block, which is very tricky for me to do, I can come on. I'm gonna actually set. I'll just wake up because it's the same thing. So if the opponent hits me with this, get a quick wind shunt with really good range. This is the get off me. It does 9% damage, which is pretty respectable. It's safe. It's invincible. You're not getting combos off of it, but you're getting decent damage off of it. But if you want a combo, and particularly if you flawless block something, press up and triangle to get a combo. But this is not safe. This is generally not safe, not invincible, and generally punishable. So, also it does about half the damage, or just under half the damage. So, you need to be careful with which wake up you decide to go for. Generally, here's my rule of thumb: if you get knocked down, get them off of you. If you manage to parry, punish them. That's my general advice when it comes to wake-ups. And to whether, when you're trying to figure out which wake-up and which wake-up to do, what have you. So I'm going to have Fujin do the same thing. Just do the sweep. Again, get off of me. Or combo. And one thing you will also notice is that these attacks cost both 1 gauge of offensive meter and 1 gauge of defensive meter. So you do these, you don't necessarily get, you can't break away, and you don't get as much meter to spend. Now, before we wrap up this video, I want to talk about the interactables on the Retrocade. Just like in Injustice, I will cover interactables because they're important. First off, every other projector you can jump off of in order to change the background, and more importantly, get some distance. It's the ones on the far end and the middle you can't, but it's the ones in between those two that you can. Despite how it looks, this Raiden cutout is not one of those interactables. It's actually the wall behind the opponent. So if I go left, I can convert this into damage. But generally speaking, I'm going to use this to get away from the opponent. And that also works on the right-hand side of this stage. I can get to the right-hand side of the stage. Thank you. In terms of interactables, this is the safest and most basic of interactables. You only get jump-offs, and you're not throwing anything or what have you. Can't even throw a projector. A little bit sad. But, I mean, that makes sense. You're in the Retrocade. You're here for the nostalgia. Hopefully this tutorial is helpful. I know it's longer than the Injustice ones, but that's because there's so much to cover with Mortal Kombat 11 between the variations and shit, so do not be afraid to suggest characters. I'm actually going to be doing Jade in the next episode, so stick around for that. Don't forget to be awesome. I'll see you guys on the other side.